This is Break Fast, a segment about how long I fasted before breaking, how much weight I've lost since my last fast, what foods I'm breaking it with, and how many calories I consumed, how long my eating window was, my weight after refeed, how I'm feeling, and what's next. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to episode 20 of Break Fast. 20 episodes in means I have now done 20 consecutive 90 plus hour back-to-back fasts. I will say though, this is the last consecutive 90 plus hour fast I'm going to be doing because later today I am actually going to be breaking into a 65 hour fast. But I'll get into that. I wanted to do 20 in a row. I really hemmed and hawed about whether I should have kept going with a 21st, but I'll discuss that in a bit. So the last 90 hour fast that I completed was on the 21st of June, and that lasted me 90 hours and 15 minutes. And I weighed in at 135.6 pounds. And if we look at the last 90 hour fast, I weighed in at 136.4 pounds. So I lost in between those two 90 hour fasts a total of 0.8 pounds. And because this is 20 back-to-back 90s, let's just quickly go over the weight. So on April 1st, when I first started and weighed in, I weighed in at 168 pounds. And if we look now, when I weighed in at 135.6 pounds, I have lost a total of 32.4 pounds in about a 3-month time span. But for people who have been watching this regularly, you know that I have been fasting for way longer than 3 months. I've been, performing extended fasting since September. September 12th was when I first started at 220.4 pounds. And now over the, 9+ months, I have lost 84.8 pounds total. One of the reasons I started doing 90s back to back in April was because I had fallen off the wagon for a bit, sometime around March. And a lot of that had to do with, the pandemic and everything going on. And I wasn't able to go to the gym, and I really didn't know what to do with myself at that point. And I just thought, well, I'm going to be stuck at home. And I don't know. I just let that weakness get into me where I was giving myself excuses to not continue fasting. And I fell off for about 2 weeks. And that is why I started this channel to begin with, because I wanted to give myself accountability. And I really thought that I was only going to do 90s for maybe a month tops back to back. I mean, I would still continually fast, but I didn't realize that I was going to be able to push this out 20 times in a row. Not something that I intended to do. I just wanted to do it at the beginning to kind of like get me back on that wagon and, get me to keep going. But the reason I've done it for so long is also because I have this channel, I have accountability, I have people that, also look at what I'm doing as inspiration and motivation. And I hope that during the course of these 3 months that it's been helpful, but also the fact that this is an ever-growing process that's always changing. And that's what I want to talk about today and why I am stopping at 20 in a row. So a big reason that I am stopping at 20 is, and I'll just put this out there, it's for my sanity. I have been on such a rigid structure of fasting, which I can do. Actually, to be honest with you, I feel really guilty that I have to break today at 65. I thought really hard about going another 90 plus hour and then just keep continuing. But I know that if I do that, so what's been happening in my head is I feel like I'm focusing too much on the weight. And I'm not focusing on working on adding muscle and trying to do, kind of like a body recomposition type deal. I think that's what they call it, a body recomp, where I'm trying to lose excess fat, but trying to add muscle at the same time. And I think in my head, I am fighting over the fact of, hey, you should start lifting weights again, or doing something more than just walking or cardio. But then there's that other part of me that's really afraid to step on the scale, have the weight go up, and then me get paranoid about it. And I know I need to kind of nix that because I am at a weight now right around 135 that is, I feel like I'm in a good place with my weight. And I really need to start evolving not only what I'm doing as far as exercise, but really starting to really look maybe more into my diet and figure a lot of that stuff out. Now, it doesn't mean that I am going to eat the cleanest and have the best diet ever, because for everybody who knows, I don't eat very clean. Although I am in the process of trying to figure some of that out. It's not going to be perfect, and I'm okay with that. And, you know, I might as well segue into what I broke my fast with, because this past fast wasn't clean either. And you'll see that. I don't eat clean. I eat very heavy. And I've said this many times, just because I do 90-hour fasts doesn't mean you have to do 90-hour fasts. Just because I refeed at 6,000 or 7,000 calories doesn't mean you have to do that either. I record myself doing this because I want to be as transparent as possible about how I've lost all this weight, and it was mostly because of fasting in general. My diet hasn't been the cleanest, and that's okay. That's okay for someone like me, because I have trouble keeping things super clean when it comes to eating. I don't like restricting myself. I don't like depriving myself of certain macronutrients. But like I've said, just because I do it doesn't mean you have to. If you can eat less, please, you should do that, especially if you're trying to lose weight, trying to lose excess body fat. If you want to eat healthier, by all means, you really should. Again, I don't eat the cleanest, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to either. So please take what I'm doing as maybe a guide, because 90 hours may not be the right amount of fasting for you, but maybe a 65 is, because you don't eat as many calories. Maybe a 48 or a 36 or even a 23, even an OMAD, might be right for you, but you just have to figure out if what you put in as far as calories and your caloric intake is suitable for you, and what you do now can be consistent, because I think the real key here is the consistency of it all. Okay, I'll give you a little more into my plan after you see what I broke my fast with. All right, to start things off, again, a buffalo ranch salad with chicken, 900 calories. And then I had Brussels sprouts, again, with salt, pepper, garlic, 200 calories. And then I went to Nick's Drive-In. I ended up getting an Italian sausage there with sweet and hot peppers, giardiniera. Really, really good, 700 calories. And then I had 2 pizza puffs. If you don't know what a pizza puff is, think of like fried dough, pretty much, with tomato sauce and cheese inside and meat. Just depends on what kind you get. The most famous one here in Chicago is made by Il Taco. Anyway, I had 2 of these, 900 calories. And then I had chips and guac. I had, I think, a third of the bag, and I think I had half a pound of guac, maybe a little more. But this was around 1,000 calories. And then I had 2 bananas, 210 calories, again, for potassium. And then I went to Taco Bell. I got 2 Doritos Locos Tacos Supremes. I don't know, I was just in the mood. 380 calories. And then I also went to Wendy's and I got a spicy barbecue chicken sandwich. This was 650 calories. And then to end it all off, I had a little over half of a pumpkin pie. This ended up being 1,750 calories for a total of 6,690 calories. And I ate all of this in a 5-hour and 28-minute window. Okay, let's talk about the refeed weight, because it was not pretty. So on June 22nd, when I weighed in at 142.8 pounds. And that was a 7.2 pound increase the day after my 90-hour fast. That is the biggest increase so far out of all the I've documented. Rest assured, this has been happening for quite some time, so my weight always dips back down. And I might as well tell you this. So today is June 24th. June 24th is the new plan for me. And tomorrow would have actually been my 90-hour fast. Tomorrow would have been when I broke my next 90. And that's probably when I was going to break into a lower weight. But today is June 24th. I'm going to be ending a 65-hour fast, and I weighed in at 136 pounds even today. So I am just a tad bit higher than where I was on my previous 90-hour fast. Again, if I fasted until tomorrow, I would lose weight again, just like I have been for the last 9+ months, for the last 20 90-hour fasts. But I want to do something different. I want to give this a shot. And here is my plan from this point forward. I'm still going to do episodes of Breakfast. They might be combined a little more because there's a lot more breaking. So instead of only eating twice a week, I will be eating 3 times a week now, which in a lot of ways sounds exciting, but there's also that mental part of me that's feeling guilty that I'm actually going to eat today instead of waiting until tomorrow. But I got to get that I got to get that out of my head. And one thing that I have always talked about on this channel is the mentality of what we do here in terms of fasting and getting your mind right about making sure that, you have your head on straight before you start doing a lot of this stuff, because a lot of it is mental. So here's the plan. When it comes to the future of what I plan on doing, I still want to do 90s. I just don't. So initially my plan was to slow it down and go from a 90 to a 65, bring it back up again to a 90, and then a 65, repeat. But I think what I'm going to do, at least for the next 2 weeks, is I'm just going to try to give 65s a shot. With that being said, because I'm eating an extra day out of the week, I know that I cannot eat 6,500 calories, 7,000 calories without... Here's what's going to happen, I think. If I ate that same amount of calories, I think my weight would probably balance itself out. I think I would probably still stick in maintenance, which is a good thing, but I still have more to lose. I still want to get down to not even a lower weight per se. I want to get the excess body fat off. I want to gain extra muscle. I want to see how far I can go, I guess, with having a really good physique. Now, that's all subjective, but this is my personal goal. I'm not sitting here saying that everybody should have this kind of goal in mind. I mean, really, at the end of the day, the thing that's important is your health and how healthy you are. And I think if those are your goals, that's great. This is just my own personal commitment of trying to see how far I can get and telling people, hey, I did this with fasting and not the cleanest eating. And it is possible and it's doable. And if I am not a walking, talking example of that, I mean, even today, if I am not a walking, talking example, then I don't know what is, because I have been doing this for 9+ months, eating this way. The last 3 months just walking because I don't have a gym. And yeah, but my plan to move forward now is to do 65s, tweak the diet where I'm not eating 6,500 calories, 7,000 calories. I think right now in my head, I was saying I would probably do 3,500 calorie refeeds or maybe 4,500 max, but it really depends on where that weight goes. It also depends on the type of exercise and the type of lifting I do. Because here's the thing. I just got an email yesterday that the state of Illinois is opening gyms back up again. And this was something that was kind of going in and out of my head too, is should I go back to the gym? And I'm still kind of on the fence about that, but there's a big part of me that really wants to go back. The gym was a big part of my life before it closed down. I was losing weight, but I was also building muscle, and I wasn't too worried about that weight dropping all the time because I knew that I was still adding muscle to my body, and it wasn't the biggest focus. It became a much bigger focus when I started this channel, just because I feel like progress is always shown on a scale, even though I know that the scale isn't the most important thing in the world. But now that I'm at 135-ish, I feel like this is a good way to keep myself between 130 and 140, I'm guessing, because I know that adding muscle is probably going to keep weight on the scale. But I also need to just either take pictures of myself and look and see how my body is looking as far as physique and losing excess fat and gaining muscle. But that's a whole other process that I'm still trying to think in my head. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I am so thrilled that a lot of you have been following me on this journey, and I hope you guys continue to follow on this second part of the journey where I actually try to figure out a more sustainable diet. Again, it's not going to be the cleanest, and it's going to have some bumpy roads, but that's all part of the process. The one thing that I want to make sure that I kind of preach to everybody is we will not always have the results we want every day. It's going to be an up and down process. It's going to be a roller coaster of a ride, and it's okay to fail. I think maybe that's more important, that it's okay that we are not perfect. That's why I'm not so hard on myself when I don't eat the best. That's why I'm not so hard on myself. Well, I've been really diligent with these fasts, but I know that one day I'm not going to be able to do a 90 or a 65 or even a 36. I'm sure there's going to be one day where I'm going to eat back to back. And that whole mentality of being okay with it and getting up and going again is what is going to take a lot of us to where we need to be. Because remember, I started this channel because I went for 2 weeks of back-to-back eating for the most part. I had a really hard time getting back on that wagon or getting back on that horse, but I did it because those 2 weeks, and I said this on my last episode, do not compare to the 9 months I've been doing this, the 9+ months of doing this. And if you look at your journey, if you look at the way you're doing it, those 2-3 days, those 2-3 weeks, that month even, probably does not compare to the totality of what you're trying to do. If you're doing this for a year or 2 years, I've said this many times, this is a lifelong process, and I plan on doing this for the rest of my life. I don't plan on doing 90s for the rest of my life, like back to back. I don't plan on doing 65s for the rest of my life, but I always see myself, at least in my eyes, because of the way I eat, I see fasting as being an integral part of what I'm doing. Whether it ends up going down to a 36 because I can control a diet, or if it stays between 48s and 60s, what I'm trying to say is it is such a flexible way of eating, such a flexible way of losing weight and staying healthy that I can't ever walk away from it because I have tried everything. I have said this many times. I feel like I've been saying that this whole video, but caloric restriction, macronutrients like cutting carbs and whatever. And yes, I know I'm going to start figuring out a lower caloric intake, but it's part of that journey to see if it's something I can do and something I can actually, be like, hey, maybe we need to focus more on the eating. Maybe we need to focus more on just doing cardio. And again, that's part of the process. And I'm glad that you guys are here, to witness this, to be accountable. And so before I go, I want to talk about accountability. Please leave comments down below. Let me know how you're doing. Let's be accountable together. If you guys are new to this channel, consider subscribing. Put that accountability on you. Talk to me. Let's have a community where we can have partner accountability, I guess, if you want to call it. But I also just enjoy reading everybody's stories and seeing their journey and hopefully being an inspiration or motivation to some people. And maybe this is a way to give you that encouragement to be like, hey, what are you waiting for? Just do it. At this point, there's no point in waiting anymore. Like, life is here, life is present, regardless of everything else that's happening around the world. The one thing that I always try to say too is, there are certain things in life that we cannot control, but for the things that we can control, like the way we eat, the way we take care of our bodies, why not do that instead of letting it consume us, the things that we can't control? Like, don't let that consume you. Have that just be part of what it is that's happening in the world today. And it's not the greatest. And I'm hoping a lot of this stuff figures itself out, but who knows? One final thing before I go, I want to thank Jimmy Dargosi. Hopefully I said it right, Jimmy. I wanted to thank Jimmy for being the newest patron on my Patreon. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for the added support. I've said this now in the past couple videos, but I do have a Patreon, obviously. You guys can check it out at patreon.com/finallyfasting. It's just a way to support. It helps offset costs and everything I do. At the same time, we have certain tiers on Patreon where we have a private Discord where we talk about our fasting and what's going on daily and kind of giving updates and being encouraging in that way. So if you guys are interested, please feel free to take a look at the Patreon. Otherwise, just having you here, liking the video, subscribing, engaging in the comments, having a real community, I think is what's important more than anything else. So I'm excited for this next chapter of doing 65s. I'm also a little hesitant and a little scared that I'm moving away from the 90s, but I know I need to stop worrying so much about the scale and always like considering the number on the scale as the only factor to what I'm doing, because I know it's much, much, much more than that. And we'll see what happens. Okay, that's about it for this episode of Breakfast. I will have another episode. I haven't decided how I'm going to make these new episodes come about, since I'm doing 65s instead of 90s, but I will share everything with you regardless. I will be as transparent as possible. And with that being said, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.